So I don't know about you, but personally, I love Sony cameras. I'm shooting on my Sony a7S III right now, and it's been my primary camera for about a year now. And overall, I've been very happy with it, and to be honest, it still has capabilities that I know my talent has yet to take advantage of. That being said, there are a few things about Sony cameras that really bother me, and that's what this video is about. So I'm aware that I'm a relatively small channel and Sony will probably never see this video. That being said, I'm still putting it out there into the community, and I hope if enough of us talk about it, maybe Sony will address some of it. But the first complaint, and these aren't exactly in order, but the first complaint I have is about the Sony screens. So this is nothing new. Most people have been talking about the Sony LCD screens on the back for a while now. It's really odd that Sony has not done anything to really address this. Now I know a lot of people may defend them by saying, hey, I don't really need a great LCD screen on the back of the camera. It's kind of just a tool and I don't need the best of the best when it comes to an LCD screen. And Sony is known for their great EVFs. That being said, for video work, even though I do use the EVF, personally, a LCD screen that is high quality is really important and even helps on the creative side. I know when my wife first got her iPhone 13 Pro Max, I don't know, there's so many different things that they add to it. But that phone has an awesome LCD screen on it, and even though the camera isn't nearly on the level of, say, the Sony a7S III, when I held it in my hands, it was so amazing to be able to just see the shot and to see it at high resolution pace right then. It really made me think differently about my movements, and it really just got me excited to shoot. So I definitely think it is a very important part of the creative process, and with Sony being able to make 8K TVs and be a TV manufacturer, I really do not understand why their LCD screens on the back of their cameras are lagging so far behind the competition. But moving on to the next point that I'd like Sony to address, and still kind of working in the screen territory, is I would like to see them add waveforms to their cameras, at least on the higher end type cameras when it comes to the mirrorless video centric cameras. I would even say the Sony a7 IV could use some waveform functions. A lot of camera companies are doing that at this point. We have Panasonic using waveforms. They also have added it to the R5C from Canon, as well as the Nikon Z9 just added it in a firmware update. I do not see a reason why Sony can't add this function to their cameras. I definitely think it makes it feel more professional, and I really do find it odd, especially for a camera like the FX3, which claims to be like a cinema camera. Why would you not add that functionality to it? And since it's identical to the Sony a7S III, why not add it to that camera as well? I know it does seem like a minor gripe, and it's definitely not the most important thing, but it is a thing that I would like to see added to their cameras, especially because I think it's easily doable. Moving on, and kind of going along with the same theme, is I wish they would add more firmware updates to their cameras to give us a little bit more excitement and add additional features such as the waveform functionality. I know a lot of camera manufacturers more recently have been adding very exciting updates to their camera via firmware. I know some people will have the opinion saying that Sony releases their camera full of different features. They're great from the start and you really do not need too many firmware updates. That being said, I always think that adding additional features to a camera is a good idea and definitely will keep the fan base excited, especially in a time like this where the supply chains make it almost impossible to add more cameras to the lineup, or at least to add more cameras to the lineup in any significant way. I think it would be a great big plus to the fans to say, listen, we can't add a new camera right now, but we can refresh these cameras, add more features as a thank you for being a Sony fan. When you see a company like Nikon adding 8K 60 RAW to the Z9, also adding waveforms and additional autofocusing features, I mean, it really is very impressive what they're able to do, and it definitely keeps the fan base very excited and more people talking about the brand. I feel like Sony has kind of left a lot of people in the dark as of lately. We haven't really heard about any reliable sources of cameras coming out. They have released some lenses, but why not keep your cameras in the zeitgeist by releasing new firmware updates that really benefit the users and also your company brand? And also talking about the lack of firmware updates, even if they're not going to add any true meaningful updates like brand new features, it would be nice to see the features that come out in a later camera be added to the cameras that they already have. For example, the Sony a7 IV has animal eye detect in video, and the Sony a7S III and the FX3 do not, and also the A1 does not even have that feature. I find it very odd that you have a mid-tier camera, even though it was released after, to have that feature and not put it in your higher end video cameras, which to me, people would need it even more or at least equally. Why not have it in that camera, considering they have the same processors, they have very similar sensors? I know it is possible to do so. I just think it's a little bit lazy on Sony's part to not add it to their cameras. But not to harp on that point too much, I will add this to kind of the firmware category, but maybe saying just moving forward into future cameras. I do think that Sony should add internal RAW to their cameras. Now, I know not everybody's going to use RAW, but having the feature there is very impressive and is something that at least is an option for people. Sony have great sensors with great dynamic range, and it would be great to get the best of the best dynamic range that you could get out of it while maintaining color accuracy. Also, a lot of other camera manufacturers are doing this at this point, Canon doing it, and now you have the Nikon Z9 doing it in 8K 60, even adding ProRes RAW. Now, I'm not saying it is a be-all, end-all thing, and I'm not even saying that 95% of the people who have the camera will actually need or particularly use that function often, but it is definitely worth putting in a camera, at least when you want to add it spec sheet for spec sheet with your competition. Now, moving on to my last complaint, and it could be part of the reason why internal RAW support hasn't been added to Sony cameras, and that is with them going with the CFXpress Type A cards. Now, I know on the surface of it, it sounds really cool. It's able to keep your cameras small and compact. I really do love the dual functionality to be able to say I can put a Type A card or I can use the SD cards, or at least the V90 SD cards. That being said, I am very disappointed in the lack of support for the CFXpress Type A cards. As of recently, Type B cards have really taken off. You can get 1 terabyte cards that are very fast, faster than the Type A cards, and you can get them at a fairly reasonable price, especially when you compare it to the Type A cards, where right now the limit is 160 gigs, which isn't really enough if you're wanting to shoot high bitrate video options, or even if you want to shoot a ton of photos on a high megapixel camera like the A1 that is also very fast, especially if some of the rumors are true and the Sony a7R Mark V comes in at somewhere around 100 megapixels. I definitely think you need better, more storage options. And really, the CFXpress Type B cards already have an infrastructure there that is in place. So I do feel like it is possible for them to keep the Type A cards moving, and that's probably what they're going to do. But I definitely think that we need more third-party options, and we also just need Sony to invest more into it themselves to feel like it's actually worth it. Maybe in the long run, we'll look back at Sony and realize they made the best choice, especially wanting to keep their cameras small. But in the short term and the midterm, it really doesn't look like that is going to be the best option. But those are just some of my complaints about the Sony cameras. I definitely do still love my Sony cameras, and these are things that I really hope that they address in future cameras and hopefully some firmware updates. What are some of your complaints about Sony cameras? Do you agree with my list? Do you add some of your own? Do you think that I'm just complaining and I should get over it? Drop in the comment section below and let me know. If you've liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. And until next time, peace.